Hey nerds! Welcome to the React.js full course powered by React 19 and packed with real projects. Welcome to episode 6. And in today's episode, we are learning the black magic of showing and hiding stuff in React like a pro magician. We are diving deep into conditional rendering and rendering list. These are the core tools behind every real world UI. So what you will learn today? By the end of this episode, you will be able to master if, ternary and short circuit logic, use logical OR for fallback rendering, not many people teach this, rendering dynamic list with map like a pro, handling tricky values like 0, false or null, avoid nothing happening in UIs, build a smart product filter with badges, availability checks and fallback status, write cleaner JSX using functions, and stand out from 90% of the beginners. But why conditional rendering? In React, you often want to show something only sometime, right? Like showing a spinner when data is loading or display an error if something breaks. So no to-dos yet if the list is empty. So welcome messages when user logs in. Without conditional rendering, your app just throws everything on screen, whether the user needs it or not. It's like blurring out all your secrets on the first date. So there are 3 ways to do conditional rendering in React. Okay, so let's go one by one. Okay, so first one is if statement outside JSX, means we have to write a if condition before this return statement. So how we can do that? So let's write if. Okay, and here your condition should be, so suppose I have a state or variable. So let's create a variable const is loading is equal to boolean true. Okay, so now if this condition is true, if this condition is loading true, then inside this if condition, I want to return something like text of loading. Okay, so loading. So here what happens, use this when you want to stop everything and return an early, like you don't want your control to go till return statement, and before that you want to check some condition and return a result from your component. So use this conditional rendering with if statement in that case. Okay, now the second way is to use ternary operator. Instead of just using if, there is another way which is second for ternary operator. So in this, what we have to do, we have to write condition inside our JSX. So here, suppose inside a div, what we can do, we can write condition using ternary operator within curly brackets. So here, let's add curly brackets, and then our condition checking or a flag, whatever we have to based on which we want to show JSX or not. So let's add here. So is loading. Now after this, after our condition, we have to put our ternary operator, means a question mark here. Okay, so after this we have to return 2 things. Okay, the one which we want to show if it is true and the one which we want to show if it is false. Okay, so how we can do that? So let's see here, if it loading is true, so show here a text. Okay, so div / div of loading. Okay, and the second thing, if it is not true, then we want to return something, right? So let's return here another div, something like data is fetched. So this is one more condition which is ternary. Okay, but here one more thing, you cannot pass multiple elements from any condition. Like suppose from here in this condition, true condition, if you want to pass another div, so you cannot pass it. Okay, so let me just add it, add div / div some text. So you can see I am getting a red warning here. JSX must have one parent element, means only one parent element you can return either from here on or from the right side of the conditions. Okay, so that's it. That is the second way, which is ternary operator. Now let's come to third way, which is short circuit. So suppose in a condition where you want this else statement, means if some condition is false, you don't want anything to return. Okay, so that's where your short circuit comes in. So how we can do that? So let me do one thing here. Okay, let me write one more condition here. So within the curly brackets, suppose you want to check if your list length or cart length is empty, then you want to show your cart is empty message. If it is not, then you don't want to show anything. So in that case, you can use short circuit. So how we can do that? So let's check first the condition. So suppose if cart dot length, what is taking cart position? Let me remove this. Just make it cart. Okay, now. So cart dot length is equal to 0. If it is 0, then we want to return something. Otherwise, we don't want anything. Okay, so in that case, let's add this AND operator, which is short circuit operator. And let's add whatever we want to return. If it is true, your cart is empty. So if the left side is true, the right side renders. No else part needed here. So these are 3 ways to do the conditional rendering in React. Okay, so now let's see what are the common mistakes we can do while writing this conditional statement. Okay, so be very careful if your condition is returning 0, false, null or empty string. So suppose here in this condition, let me write a condition where I'm checking for the price. If we do have price, then I want to just return a p tag with whatever the price value we have. Okay. So in this case, it will work fine when we have some values. But if the price is 0 or we have some null values, okay, then in this case, it won't render anything or it will break. So 0 means React will treat it as a false value. Okay. So better if you have some condition like this. So instead of like this, just check for if price is not undefined, like this. So this is much better condition logic. So your React app won't break if you have value or price 0. Okay. Now let me show you one more thing over here, which is logical OR operator. Okay. So suppose in p tag, okay, you have some username you want to show. User dot name. Okay, so whenever you are logging in, you are just showing something for user, like your name is this user dot name. Okay, but if you don't have any username and you want something here in p tag to show, right? So if we want to show something, so here what we can do, we can use logical OR operator, which is like this. So, and then whatever the value we want to show here. So suppose if we don't have any username, then we just want to show it as a guest user. Okay. So if user dot name is empty, it shows guest. Super helpful for missing optional fields. Now check if here, suppose based on any status, we want to show 2 or 3 things. So suppose here, let me create a variable. So const status. Okay. And here value can be loading. Okay. Let me make it loading. Or value can be, suppose it can be an error status, or we do have some values over here. So completed or something. Okay. So suppose based on these status, we can have 3 conditions and we want to render it over here. So let's do that by using this conditional rendering, which is our ternary operator. Okay, so let's do that here. So now first condition is, let's check for status if it is equal to or loading. Okay, so if its status is loading, then we want to show a loader, as we have done earlier, right? Loader. And if it is not, then we want to check, means in else condition. So this is true condition, and in else condition here we want to check if the status is error. So check status is error. So then in this case we want to show some messages over here, something like let's add a div, another div here. So here what we can render, error fetching data. And if we also don't have this error status, then means it's not loading or not error, then we want to return a div with text all good. Let's add div here, all good, right? So this is one way to handle multiple condition using ternary operator within the JSX itself. Okay, but here suppose after this condition we need to check one more condition. So here the code will get messy, right? So instead of just writing all the condition here in JSX, what we can do, we can just use the function based rendering. So which lets us we basically, it won't be letting our JSX become spaghetti. So we can move this whole logic into the helper function. So instead writing all condition here, what we can do, we can just create a function here, and basically we can name it anything. So I'll name it render status, where it will take the status which we are checking. Okay, and here let's write the condition whatever we have checked here. So if status is equal to loading, right, then let's return whatever we have written here, which is loader. Okay, this is our first condition. Now let's check if status is equal to error, then what we want to return, we want to return this error fetching data. Okay, and if everything is good, so let's return this all good. Okay, and then let's call this function over here. So here let's remove everything and just call the render status function and pass the status value. So this is much cleaner approach to write multiple conditions. So even if we can have 10, 15, whatever the condition numbers we can have, and it won't make our code look garbage in the JSX because we have used a separate function for it. Okay, so this is more cleaner, reusable, and more readable. So now let's check how we can render a list in React. So suppose let's create an array. Okay, here. So const, let's name the array to dos, and it is array of strings. So which we have React, and then let's add eat or sleep, any string, doesn't matter. Okay, so now we want to render each of this list item in our JSX. So how we can use that? We have a map function. So basically map transforms any array into JSX. It's like a loop but more powerful and more React-y. So let's check how we can do that. So here, so let's add a UL tag, basically because we want to render it in a list as a list item. Okay, so for that we need a UL tag, right? So here for list item we want to map this to dos array, and how we can map that? Within the curly brackets. So to dos dot map, and this map function returns us two things. One is these values, means whatever each element values, and also it gives us the index, means first it is in 0 index, then 1 index, then whatever the index it is traveling, it returns that value also. Okay, so let's take those values. So to do means I can name it anything. Okay, so in to do you will have first React, then to do will have eat, and to do will have sleep. Okay, so like that you can name anything here variable. You just want to absorb the current value, and then it, as discussed, it return index. So I'll be receiving that value in index. Okay, now we have to return something from here. Okay, so how we can do that? Just either we can add parentheses or just directly write the list item here. Okay, And here in list item, we want to render these each value, right? So let's add where we are getting this value, to do variable. So here I can give to do, and also in React. Okay, so let's just save it and go check on the localhost. So it is showing loading because we have this true. So as you can see, it is true. So that's why it is not coming in return. So let's make it false. Now go back and let's inspect it. It is saying cart is not defined. Okay, so let's remove, we don't have any cart over here. So let's check for to do's length instead. Let's refresh it. Price is not defined. Okay, so we don't have these values as well. So let's comment it out for now. And user also we don't have. So let's comment it out as well. Okay, so now here you can see that we are able to render our list item each. Okay, but here on the console you can see we are getting warning that each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Okay, means let's go back to the code. Here in each list item should have a particular key which should be basically unique. Okay, so unique value, what it helps. So each item in a list must have unique, means avoiding using index if item might change or reorder. So suppose if I have index value, then I can assign that in the key, but you shouldn't use that. You should use a unique value which is something like ID or something for each of the item. So basically key helps React to identify more accurately which list item have changed. Whenever we are trying to filter or modify a list, then key helps React to identify which has changed or which not. So it only compares by running diffing algorithm and then renders only that change node. So key helps basically our React application to uniquely identify each item array. So let's give a key here. So I'll give index as I don't have right now any ID for each list item, but you should not give index. You should always use a particular ID for each list item, which will always be unique. So yeah, that's it about the map method. It's mini project time. So let's create a product filter app with ratings, stocks, and fallbacks. So let's build something more than just another to-do list. Here's what we'll create in this mini project. We'll filter products. We'll have the list of products and then we'll filter them based on category. We'll show out of stock message when needed. We'll add ratings conditionally basically. And we'll show fallback text when no result matches. Also, we'll learn multi-conditional rendering. Okay. So now here in app.js, whatever we have just created, let's remove everything so that we can create a project. Okay, so let me remove these and these. Okay, so now here we are in our app component. So as we discussed, we have to create product list. Okay, so let's create a static array for now of products. So let's create all products. Okay, it will be array, and here we'll have multiple array of objects. So let's give one ID for product one, and name will be, let's give a sneakers. Okay, let's give category for this product so that we can filter out. So category will be obviously shoes. Then if it is available, then let's create a flag. Okay, so available true, it will be boolean. And also the rating, so rating, let's give it for now 4.5. Okay, so now let's create it 3-4 times. So comma, comma, and comma. So let's save it. Now let's check each of them ID. It will be 2, 3, 4. This will be our cap. This product will be t-shirt. Okay, and this will be socks. And category for cap will be accessories. Accessories. Okay, and for this it will be clothing. Let's make it capital here. And for also this socks will come into the accessories category. Okay, and now let's make this one cap false, like we don't have available. Okay, also for this, let's give it rating of null. Okay, so I think, okay, let me do one thing here also, give it a rating of 3.8. Okay, and for this one, let's do not keep the rating. It's 43. It should be 3.5. Okay, so now we have product array ready. Okay, so now let's come here in our app component and let's now this give a class of product app product hyphen app. Okay, I think extra, yeah. So here to let's first add a h1 tag, okay, which will be our product, so case heading. Okay, then after that let's create a div where we'll be showing filters and input box to show that it is out of stock if it is. Okay, so let's now create a div where we'll keep our filters to filter out this list of products. Okay, so div class name, let's give it filters for now. Okay, and in div I want a select tag. Okay, so let's create a select tag here and let's give options for, basically here we are changing its based on the categories. Okay, so whatever the categories we have defined here, so let's give them in option as here. So option, so basically first I'll give it all so that user can see all the products. Okay, then let's give one more options for what category we have created, shoes, first one. So let's give it for shoes. Now let's create another one, let's give it as accessories. Okay, and then fourth one, let's give it as other category, clothing. Okay, so this is our select tab with filter created. Okay, so now let's create a label here, basically a checkbox here, which will have option to show out of stock materials, out of stock basically products here. Okay, so let's create a checkbox after this select. Okay, so for that let's create a label for checkbox where we'll keep the label and label will be show out of stock. So now let's create a checkbox here, input type will be checkbox. Okay, so on clicking on this checkbox will show those product which are out of stock also. Okay, with the rest we have in the stock. Okay, so that is for filter div. Now let's come here after this. Now check if okay, so first thing here, let's for the select and this checkbox let's create some state so that we can store value and then we can run our filter here. Okay, so for this category we whatever the option will user choose, we have to store it in a state. So let's create a state for it. So const category and its setter function set category. Okay, which will be of use state. Okay, so by default I want all category to be selected, so let's give it all option. Okay, and now come in the select tag here, let's on change, let's set the whatever the user have selected to the category state. Okay, so on change we are getting the event, so we are setting that e dot target dot value, whatever user is selecting we are setting that into our set category state. Okay, and also let's give a value of category here. So whatever the selection will be for this category state, we will be setting as this select tag value. Okay, so this is for select tag. Now come for this checkbox we have created. So if it is checked or not, we have to keep maintain that state so that we can filter out our product. So let's create one more state for this. So const, let's name it so out of stock. Then its setter function set so out of stock. Okay, use state. By default I want false, so it shouldn't be checked by default. Okay, so now let's assign this state value to this input field here. So here let's give it checked. Okay, so on checked status, whatever the value of this state will be. Okay, so let's compute here. And on change of this checkbox I want to set whatever user have done. So on change event, so let's set so out of stock, let's make it not. So if user have already selected and now clicking it again, so it will be false, and if user not selected and clicking it will be true. So whatever the value right now we have, we'll just changing it on the click of checkbox. Okay, so now here we have created our filters. Okay, so I think we have to also create means we have to also obviously map these product, right? So let's do that here. So after this filters div, okay, let's render all these product item. So how we can render it? We can use the map method here. Okay, so how we can do that by map here. So let's add a UL tag. Wait, it's remove here. Let's add a UL tag here. Okay, and now let's do all product dot map. All product dot map. Let's get product. Okay, and here let's receive it first. Now here I want list item for each product, so let's create an li, and now we have to give a key obviously here. So now we have ID for each of the products, so now I'll give product dot ID for this key, product at ID. Okay, here let's come inside this li, and now let's add a strong to show the product name basically. So we have property of product dot name, right? So product dot name. Now after the strong, let's create em. Okay, so here inside this I want to show the category of false, this product. So product dot category, product dot category. Okay, so after this let's create a function basically where we'll be just rendering the badges of the ratings. Okay, so let's try here, means call the function render badge. Okay, here we'll be passing whatever the product rating is. So product dot rating, right? And let's now create this function which will be basically returning as the rating list. Okay, so come here, before return, let's create a const render badge. Okay, here we are getting the ratings. Okay, and now let's check, because we cannot have rating, right? So here for this t-shirt we don't have any rating, so we have to check if we do have rating, then only we need to return something, otherwise don't. Okay, so check if we don't have rating, then in this case I want to return null. Okay, and if we do have rating, so let's return rating span. Let's give it class name of badge. So how we can give the rating here? So let's add star here, and also whatever the rating value we have, we are getting from here. Okay, so this function we are calling here, so it will supposed to render the rating. Okay, so after this let's check if we do have product available, then we have to show it. Otherwise, if we don't have that product available, means this is false, then we have to show that as a out of stock. Okay, so come here, let's add a condition. If product dot available, means if it is not available, we have added a not here, means for this false value, okay, it will be false, and not means it will become true. So if we don't have product available, so then in this case only we need to render a span, okay, where we'll be rendering out of stock text. Okay, let's give it class name also of out of stock. Okay, so I think this we have done. Now we haven't changed the list based on the filter. Okay, so first let's check the UI, then we'll come here to implement the filter one. Okay, so here you can see we have product showcase, okay, and also all the product list, and we have the checkbox over here. Okay, so you have noticed my product is not list is not rendering. So here is the issue. We should have wrap it with instead of curly parenthesis. Okay, let's remove it. Okay, and also I think we have some default CSS here, so let's remove whatever it was. Now let's go back again in localhost and check. So here you can see I have the list already rendering. Okay, but even if I do some filtering here, it's not working. Also this so out of not working, right? Why? Because we have not implemented filter yet. So for that, let's create a variable. Okay, const filtered. So in this variable, we are going to store all the filtered value in this array, and then this array will be using here to loop it out. Okay, so here now let's go through all the products in all products. Okay, so now let's add a filter method here. Okay, so it will give us each product. Now here how we do want to filter. Okay, so there are two conditions. First we have to check the category, obviously. Okay, so check if const, create a variable here, matches category. Okay, so now we have to check if this category state is equal to all, or if it is matching with product category, then we have to set it here. Okay, so let's check here category. If it is equal to all, means we have to show the products only when if this category is set to all, or if it is the same category set which is that product category. Okay, then only in this case we have to make it true. So let's add this more condition, product dot category if is equal to whatever the category user have selected. So this is one condition. Now after this we have to check if it is available, means it is available in the stock, then we have to set it. Otherwise we have to show it as not available. Okay, so if it is visible, means we have to basically check if user have selected this. So out of stock means user wants to see out of stock material also. Then here we are making this variable where we'll be checking so out of stock. If it is user have checked, means if it is true, then let's return true for this product, means user want to see it. Otherwise just return the product dot available if it is available. Okay, so here what we are doing, let me explain it again. If user have checked so out of stock, okay, then this is visible be true, means user want to see the item which are out of stock as well. Okay, and if it is not checked, then the condition will be based on product available. Okay, so if it is false, then it won't be shown here. So now we have two matching categories and is visible. Okay, now let's return those products which are matching of these both conditions. Okay, so now return match categories and is visible, means here we are filtering out the product which is matching with both of these categories, match categories and is visible, means if those or both are true, then we are returning that product in this filtered array. Okay, so now let's use it here. So come here, But before that, let's add up one more condition for empty state if we don't have anything in the filtered array. So let's add if filtered dot length is equal to 0, then in this case I want to return a p tag basically, where I will be showing no matching products, try different filter. Okay, this is one check I have implemented. Now here, instead of getting data, means rendering data from all the products, we have to render it from the filtered one. Okay, so let's add here filtered. So now we'll be mapping the filtered one. Okay, and also before that, let's one more check here. If the filtered length is greater than 0, then we have to render this list item, otherwise we don't have to. So let's create a curly brackets here. Okay, and here let's add a condition filtered dot length. If it is greater than 0, then only we need to render this UL tag. Okay, so let's cut it here and just inside the parentheses let's paste it. Okay, so we have now created the filtered array as well, and based on this filtration we are showing the result in the UI. So now let's check it's working or not. So come here, now refresh it. So by default all are showing, but you can see we are seeing only the sneaker, t-shirt and socks, but you noticed cap is not showing in the list. Why? Because here if I'll come for cap, it is false, means we don't have this item available in our stock. Okay, now if I'll just click on this, I want to basically see the items which are out of stock as well. Okay, so let's give it. So now see, it is showing the cap also, but here it is mentioning that it is out of stock. And also for t-shirt you can see we don't have any rating, so that's why here you can see we don't have any rating, so that's why nothing is coming here. Only for this shoes and accessories are rating available. Okay, now let's uncheck it and try to filter out from here. So let's filter out the shoes. So you can see only the shoes is showing. Let's check clothing, only the t-shirt is showing. And let's see accessories, only the socks is showing here. But in accessories category, as you can see, we have two items, cap and socks. So socks is showing, but cap is not showing because it is out of stock. So let's check on this checkbox. So as you can see, it is showing the cap also, which is out of stock. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Recap time. Today you learned how to render components conditionally, use if, ternary and logical or logic, safely handled values like 0 and null, render dynamic list using map, build a real life UI logic into a mini project, make your JSX readable and self-cache. Coming up next, so in next episode, we'll deep dive into hooks. We'll start with use effect, side effects and data fetching. We'll cover API calls, loading state cleanups and avoiding infinite re-renders. You will learn how to fetch data like a champ without breaking your app. Comment below your weirdest product idea plus rating. If this helped you, give it like, subscribe and hit that bell. See you in episode 7, nerds.